and a brutal test for their cars.
You can do to steer. I mean, it's really, really hard.
You know, the bumps are just so severe sometimes.
It's extremely brutal. 4Gs, your neck gets really sore.
This particular racetrack, by the end of the 12 hours, your wrist can be quite painful.
It's hard to hold your head up straight. You know, that's going to be a problem as the day wears on.
And in this race, traditionally, if you can make it to the finish without too many problems, you know, you're on the podium almost.
To win at Sebring, you must beat the world's most high-tech sports cars and the sport's most difficult racetrack. That opportunity is right here, right now. For the 49th year, the world's greatest cars and drivers have gathered in Central Florida to challenge Sebring in the world's greatest sports car endurance challenge. But this year, they do so with a heavy heart. Flags are at half-staff, and the race cars decorated with black stripes, because worldwide sports car racing has lost one of its greatest heroes. Last night, while final preparations were going on for this race, came word that Bob Wallach, a 7-time Porsche Cup winner and one of the greatest drivers ever, was killed, not in a car, but while riding his beloved bicycle back to his hotel here in Sebring, Florida. Over a 3-decade career, Bob Wallach won every race that matters to a sports car driver, except the one that matters most to a Frenchman, the overall at Le Mans. Still, Bob won plenty, including 4 overalls at Daytona and a 1985 victory here at Sebring in one of the oddest driver pairings ever with A.J. Foyt. Last night, Bob Wallach's friends mourned.
The words stick in my mind. Smiley Bob. As everybody knows, Bob Wallach, he was always there. We lost a race car driver, but more important, I think we lost a friend, and I lost a friend, and the world lost a friend. Smiling Bob is what I remember Bob most.
He's always remembered for the guy who said, "Who is A.J. Foyt in Daytona?" That's one of the moments what I remember. We lived through that whole race, many, and I can only say I will miss him tremendously.
Every June, Bob Wallach would ride his bicycle from his home in Strasbourg to Le Mans. He leaves a wife and a world of friends. We dedicate this broadcast to the memory of Bob Wallach.
In memory of our good friend and competitor, Bob Wallach. Drivers, start your engines.
There will be many memorials to the memory of Bob Wallach around this racetrack today, with a packed house once again. For the 49th time, the best sports cars in the world are ready to take to this very difficult racetrack. Now let's meet our pit reporters, beginning with Calvin Fish.
Bob, Audi today will be going for their 10th straight win in ALMS competition, and they've returned to their winning lineup at Sebring last year and Le Mans, with Tom Christensen jumping out of the number 1 car over to the number 2 machine, joining Frank Bieler and Emanuele Pirro. Now, if Christensen wins here today, he'll join Belgian Olivier Jean-de-Bier and the only man to ever win 3 straight here at Sebring. Now, Audi have really stacked the deck. Not only do we have an Audi on the pole, we also have another Yost Audi on the front row with Ronaldo Capello starting that car. 2 customer cars in the field. We've got the champion Audi, which we saw at Texas, having a strong run here also, and a brand new entry for Stefan Johansson in the beautiful Gulf livery, bringing back memories of that 69 win and the GT40 in 1969. John Field had a great run in the Lola, qualified 5th, and the Panos has been struggling. Had a lot of promise at Texas, but really struggling here in the bumps at Sebring. Brand new car for Team Dyson, Riley and Scott Mark III, trying to make its mark. Now joining me today in pit lane is Andrew Marriott. He has more on the battle in GTS.
Yeah, thanks. Well, you're looking at the smiling face of Steve Saleen, because his car, a big surprise here, is on the pole. A great performance in qualifying by Oliver Gavin. He only did a few laps in the car at Willow Springs, came here, put it on the pole and beat the Corvettes. The Corvettes have never won here. Previously, of course, they've had to race against the Vipers, but the Vipers are not here anymore with the Oreca team. So here in GTS, we're going to have a great battle. Up to you.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Stay safe down there in pit lane. We also expect a terrific battle in GT. There's the number 23 Porsche starting 13th. It'll be started by Sasha Massen, sharing with Lucas Lohr and Emmanuel Collard. Le Mans winners, a great driver lineup going for Porsche's possible 44th class victory here at Sebring. But they will have stiff competition in class from BMW, who have rolled out a German-built 4-liter V8 for their M3s. There is one of them along with 3 of the straight 6 machines. There you see the V8 in the hands of former Formula 1 star J.J. Leto. They will start in the 15th spot. So now it's time to go racing, and I am with former Sebring class winner Jeremy Dale. Jeremy, the first thing out of everyone's mouth when they talk about Sebring is how difficult this racetrack is.
Well, you know, Bob, often people talk about the 12 hours of Sebring being just as difficult or more difficult than some of the 24-hour races, Daytona, Le Mans. But in reality, this track has gotten quite a bit friendlier in recent years. Yes, we still have the very bumpy section on the front straightaway, turn 1, the last corner. They are really the last of the old runways and taxiways here at Sebring. So, you know, the drivers do complain about it, but I must say it's never been better. Still very, very difficult on the race cars. And we'll take a look at this challenging racetrack, 3.7 miles around. And, of course, turn 1, very, very quick. A great series of corners here. Of course, the hairpin, very famous, that which changed a couple of years ago. Cunningham corner there. The Fangio chicane also changed a couple of years ago. The famous tower turn. Bishop Bend, very fast left-hand kick, flat out in 5th gear. And, of course, that long back straightaway that leads down to Sunset Bend, very bumpy through turn 17 there.
It is one of the most exciting racetracks in the world. And right now, we'll turn to our Exxon starting lineup for the beginning of today's race. Starting on pole will be Frank Biela, sharing his Infineon Audi R8 with Emanuele Pirro and Tom Christensen, as mentioned earlier, going for his 3rd in the row. Their teammates, Ronaldo Capello, Michele Alboreto, and Laurent Aiello, will be alongside. Then the 2 customer Audis, Andy Wallace starting the champion machine, Stefan Johansson in the Gulf Oil Audi. On row 3 will be John Field, sharing with Duncan Dayton and Rick Sutherland in a Lola with Judd V10 power, alongside the first of the beautiful new LMP07s from the Pato stable in the hands of David Brabham. On row 4 will be Butch Leitzinger in the new Riley and Scott Mark III-C with Ford power, badged as a Lincoln this weekend. A great driving lineup there. Next to them on row 4 will be Rouillon, Redon, and Bourdais in the Courage C60 with Peugeot power. On row 5 will be Olivier Gavin driving for Franz Conrad and Terry Borcheller in that beautiful Celine S7R. That's the pole-sitting car in the GTS class, alongside the Daytona winners in the Corvettes, led by Ron Fellows. On row 6 will be the only car in the new LMP 675 class, Claudia Hurtgen starting out, one of the only female drivers in the field. Alongside will be Andy Pilgrim in the other Corvette. On row 7, Sasha Maassen in the pole-sitting Porsche GT3 RS, alongside Randy Post in the second Alex Job Racing car. On row 8, J.J. Leto in that new V8 BMW M3, alongside the straight 6 version of the car in the hands of Bill Arberlin. And on row 9, Boris Said sharing with Hans Stuck and Peter Cunningham, alongside Dirk Mueller, last year's American Le Mans Series GT Class driving champion, sharing a BMW with Frederick Ekblom. As you take a look down through the rest of the field, 38 strong, a very, very strong lineup, and we expect particularly good battles in GT as well as the LMP 900 class. 9 prototypes in all, not counting that solo entry in the LMP 675 class. 5 of the big production-based GTS machines and 23 GT cars, Porsches, BMWs, and 1 lone Le Mans legal Corvette from Trinkler Racing. We're ready for the start. There's a look at one of the onboard cameras. We'll have many of them throughout the field. This is in the Audi, starting on the outside of the front row. You see here the car laboring under those low revs as they head through Sunset.
Well, these cars hate to go slow, and they only really like to go fast. Look at that armada of Audis. The 2 factory cars on the front row, the 2 customer cars on row 2. Audi has really stacked the deck here at Sebring.
The field is set, and now one of the most familiar vistas in all of motorsports. The start-finish at Sebring. We're underway, and the Audis surge out front. Turn 1, Hans Stuck calls this one of the most difficult corners in all of worldwide racing. Very fast, very bumpy, and then narrowing down to just 2 lanes right here.
And, of course, it is blind at the exit, so it's not uncommon to drive past the apex, and there's a car spun off in the dirt or at the exit. Great onboard shots. This is the champion car. That is Andy Wallace on the run down to the hairpin.
and his partner Dorsey Schrader have been absolutely walking on air since they took over their car. They say it is an absolute dream to drive in competition.
You can see the car up to fourth, so Audi's 1, 2, 3. There's the GTS leading Celine, the Corvette, very close behind.
Remarkable turnaround for this Celine. They had so many problems in the Rolex 24 at Daytona, then came out and won round 2, the Grand American Road Racing season at Homestead. Now here they are. This is a different car, the first of the true customer chassis, and it has been absolutely blinding around Sebring. But there is 12 long hours of racing ahead. Now here's the bulk of the GT field. Saw the two Porsches go by, followed by that brilliant blue and white number 42 4-liter V8 BMW M3. Back to the point, coming down Alec Ullman straight into the long turn 17 Sunset.
Very tricky corner, entered at about 185 miles an hour. And again, it's blind. You have to turn around the end of the wall there on the right, which defines the paddock. So very tricky on the entry to that final corner, and also very bumpy, as you mentioned, Bob. Turn 1, you can see the bumps here. Look at him working that steering wheel. Very bumpy. Now a little bit smoother out here, but plenty of curves. These guys will hop these curves here. That's turn 3, little kink here to the right, and then long carousel section here that leads onto a very important straightaway down to the hairpin.
Riding with Ronaldo Capello, who goes by the nickname Dindo. He partnered Alan McNish to the driver's title last year.
And Alan McNish had nothing but great things to say about his co-driver last year. Of course, McNish won the ALMS championship and was quite dominant in this Audi.
McNish now working for Toyota as they prepare their Formula One assault for next year. Stay with us for more of Speed Vision's highlighted coverage of the Exxon Superflo 12 Hours at Sebring. On board, the second place car in the GT class, a Porsche 911. This is Sasha Maassen at the controls. There's the second of the two Panos LMP07s in the race. David Brabham hitting from 8th place. Andrew Marriott is there.
Yes, indeed, and David Brabham stopped right in front, appropriately on St. Patrick's Day, in front of the Shamrock of the Panos. So this is purely for fuel, not a driver change, no tyres, but this is the first scheduled stop of the Sebring 12 hours, and significantly, I think, this Panos has come in to all the Audis. We thought maybe it would make a little bit more gas mileage than the Audis, and we've got fuel everywhere, and a bit of a problem, but now David Brabham is climbing out of the car, so we've got drama. David Brabham's jumped out of the car. When they pulled the fuel hose out, fuel went absolutely everywhere. They're now wiping it off the cockpit. This is obviously going to lose them quite a bit of time. And, well, David will not be happy with that. As they pulled the fuel hose out, you probably saw it all come. That's when you sometimes can get a fire situation, but everything seems to be safe down here.
Well, you can see when they were fueling there, and for those of you that saw this car in Texas, they have got the fuel cell in this car right in the center of the car. It sits right behind the motor and just up by the driver's feet, so it's very difficult physically to fuel this car. The fueler has to come right over the top of the car, right into the center of the car. And that might have played a role in that fuel spill. You don't know. They might have had a malfunction with the fueling nozzle. But you can see just up towards, just right and forward of where David Brabham sits is where that fuel goes in.
The driver can basically reach over that protective capsule and tap the fuel tank. Here's another look at what happened.
And you can see that shot shows it how far the fueler has to lean over. And that looks like it was just a malfunction.
The valve never closed.
Yeah, that was a malfunction with the fueling unit itself.
Like the man with the mandatory fire extinguisher got a face full of it. The fuel tank was placed in that position by the designers of this car to give it extra protection. It's actually at the head of the transmission tunnel, right behind the engine, as you mentioned, Jeremy, rather than putting it at the back over the rear axle.
And the idea is David Brabham is not happy. Probably when he took off there, a bunch of fuel that was down on the floorboard came rushing back. Andrew, you're there.
Now the car is being pulled back into the pit. There's chaos down here. I think the situation was, as you said, that there's fuel in the cockpit. David Brabham himself pulling the car back, and we're getting there. David Brabham now looking at his backside, which has got fuel all over it. So continuing drama down here in the Panos pit. But I suspect they might go away and get David Brabham a new race suit. I'm going to try and get hold of him in just a minute for you. So, well, this is all turning very sour down here for the Panos team.
other car behind the wall, the Klaus Graf Walter Sala's entry. In answer to one of our emails, that car started well back down the grid because it did not meet the mandatory speed requirements. We'll take a break and be right back. Back at Sebring, here's a look at the highlights of the second hour of 12. Problems for the GTS class Vipers. Real left rear suspension problem that has led to a long pit stop. Meanwhile, the GT class battle raged between the Alex Joe Porsches and the factory BMWs. In the GTS category, the Celine that sat on pole position was handed over to team owner Franz Conrad, who immediately suffered rear bodywork problems. During a long pit stop to fix that, Kelly Collins took over the GTS class lead in the Corvette. Meanwhile, this is Shane Lewis, who got out of the Callaway in the GT class. Alvin Fish is there.
Well, race drivers are definitely athletes when they're in one of these closed cockpit cars in these conditions. Shane Lewis, how you doing, mate?
Well, a little bit rough, I got to be honest with you. We hadn't ran this car this long ever since we've had it from brand new. The temperature inside the car was just pretty severe. We ran some ducting in for the driver's compartment for some cooling. The problem is every time you got on the brakes, it would superheat the air and blow air on you. So, I mean, we're lucky to have a car that's running out there for a full stint. I'm happy with that. You know, really, we're just trying to do a little bit of endurance testing, as it were, you know. But I didn't know it was going to be an endurance test on the driver, too.
I noticed you got your socks off, you're cooling down your feet with these front engines. That really heats that front bulkhead.
Yeah, I got to tell you where my foot is down for the dead pedal is actually the air jack location. And I kept having to try to lift my foot off it because it just kept burning so bad. But, you know, I've got a great team and good co-drivers who are looking after me here. I get out of the car, and they got cold towels for me. So it's a good group of guys.
In good spirits, guys.
All right, thanks, Calvin. Vic Rice has taken over for Shane Lewis, and now there's an ominous amount of work going on with the formerly class leading and pole sitting Celine, and we have more problems. This is the number 15 car started by Grady Willingham.
And there's definitely been a little contact with something. We heard he went off the road at turn 2.
Which appears to be to the left side of the car. Right side looks fine. Well, he makes his way around. Certainly a pit stop in his immediate future. Meanwhile, Ronaldo Capello continues on his way. Only he and Frank Vila remain on the same lap. We'll be back.
Well, welcome back to Sebring. What a fantastic battle that has developed here in the GT class. This is the battle for the lead in GT. The number 42 BMW has caught the number 23 Porsche and has been looking for a way around this car for the last lap or so.
Yeah, that's right. It's really very exciting stuff, this. It's like a mini battle going on here, and that BMW is acquitting itself, I think, very well, because it's got a factory-built engine in it this time. We saw at Daytona it did not have a factory-built engine. It was kind of a road engine souped up, but they're driving it beautifully. And look at this. This is what racing's all about. Some decent competition going on here.
What I've loved about this battle over the years between these 911s and these M3s is that these cars are so different. The 911, of course, is essentially a design that is about 40 years old. Rear engine, of course, it does have a transaxle in it, but very different from the front engine, rear-wheel drive BMW. Just so different, these cars, night and day.
You were talking about balance, though, earlier, and what we're looking at here is the car leading the 911 is perhaps the world's best balanced rear-engine car. We all know that, but the BMW has really caught up. They've produced a very, very nice, all-over, easy-to-drive package with all the things that a race driver looks for. Plenty of torque, great brakes, a really nicely balanced car, and the proof of this is in what we're seeing now.
Look at this.
Battle for the lead in the GT class. Mueller gets the inside line, drives Lure off point, takes over the position.
Nicely set up pass. That all happened back at the hairpin. You saw the Porsche was wide of the apex in the hairpin. The BMW perfectly on line, came off the hairpin with better exit speed. That all started back in the hairpin.
Meanwhile, we have a driver change going on in one of the Corvettes. They hang the steering wheel from the top of the roll cage. The driver works his way in, and it looks like they're having problems there.
Well, don't forget, Chris Neifel is a very big guy, well over 6 feet tall, and pretty much drives this Corvette with his helmet pinned to the roof.
Last drive for Neifel before he takes over full time. In fact, he's already started work as the new chief steward of the Kart FedEx Championship Series.
He made his debut last weekend in Monterrey, Mexico at a very, very successful event.
Absolutely. So he'll remember this drive for a long time to come, assuming he can get the car started.
Not firing.
This is a typical problem you get when it's hot and it's humid. Of course, the fuel can have a little vaporization and boil anywhere along its path line. You get fuel pumps cavitating. This, as we all know, when it gets hot, tricky things to start. Look, he can't get it going. He doesn't want to know. We would put our foot on the floorboards on the accelerator and keep cranking till it went.
Well, of course, these race cars have very small batteries on board. They do have booster batteries they can plug in, but really that car is not designed to sit there and just keep cranking. And often, if it won't crank, it won't do you much good anyway, because you say, Alan, it might be a fuel problem or some type of electronic problem. If it's going to fire, usually it'll fire as soon as you crank it. Nope, there it goes.
We'll take a break and return. A huge crowd on hand, but then again, there always is here at the 12 Hours at Sebring. As you may know, Bentley has been testing hard in preparation for a return to Le Mans for the first time since the first half of the 20th century. The car and its engine, basically the same twin-turbo V8 that carried Audi to the top of the sports car world, will be dressed in traditional British racing green for the event, to be followed by an all-new ground-up Bentley in the coming years. The new Anglo-American driving lineup, beginning with James Weaver, Andy Wallace, and Butch Leitzinger, who are all racing today here at Sebring, will be joined by a second car and 3 more drivers. They hope to join the 48-car field for the greatest sports car race in the world. You'll see it here on Speed Vision, live and flag to flag. On board with Chris Neifel now. We watched him struggle to get that Corvette going. So he must be frustrated. A little extra cinching down on the belts. You just can't get them tight enough in the pit lane.
No, you can't, and actually they will, even though they're designed not to, they will loosen up just a little bit. There is a good look at Kelly Collins in the sister car. Remember that big crash he had in Texas? You can see these cars clearly do not have sequential gear change in them. Kelly with the standard H pattern there, up to 5th, down to 4th, down to 3rd, down to 2nd, back to 1st gear.
Watch Kelly Collins at work. The number 50 Panos is back on the track. Now here's Nicholas Johnson in the number 10 BMW. He's been on and off the track in the last lap. See the helmet he's wearing. He's probably the only driver at the track who is a certified factory technician for a helmet company. Stand 21 makes safety gear. He wears a stand helmet. He can fix yours if it's broken. Here's what happened to him a few moments ago. These are the S's down at the old hairpin.
Went to the throttle a little bit early there, spun back to the inside. The car's going around the outside of him there. Looks like no major damage. Maybe a little bit of front body damage there going off-road.
Yeah, they're getting all the marbles laid down now. This is typical of this stage of the race. Cars going off the curb, spreading the marbles around. They can catch you out real quick, as we all know.
Another H-pattern gearbox. He seems to get a lot of movement in that seat. This is Lucas Luhr, young German, number 23. GT Porsche, second in class. 17 overall victories for Porsche here at Sebring, and 43 class wins, far more than any other manufacturer.
I never thought about it before, but you think of all the extra work that a guy with a regular gear shift has to do in a race like this. I mean, you've just got a paddle shift, and if one of the panels has had a paddle shift and one had a sequential gearbox, but these guys haven't even got sequentials. They've got to go through the whole 9 yards, the H, and it's a lot of work, isn't it?
Well, and of course, it's much easier to miss a gear with an H pattern.
Overall race leader, Kelly Alvaretto, the second portion of his, what is thus far a double stint. Just behind him, the sister car, in the hands of Tom Christensen. You see the Celine right there as well.
And this, by the way, is the battle for the lead. Last time by the start-finish line, only 2.8 seconds between these cars. It actually looks like a little bit less. Christensen is really I think Christensen, in a way, has filled in the gap left by Alan McNish. I mean, he literally did fill the seat, but Christensen is one of these guys that is really super, super quick, the way McNish was. And you can see he's closed this gap up. And he really was the man at Texas. There's no question about it.
He doesn't want to come second either, so I think that's what we always have to remember here. We heard earlier, I mean, there is no team orders here particularly. I guess whoever's going to be leading, the object is not to push anybody off, but anyone could win it.
As we mentioned at the top of the broadcast, the last 2 overall winners at Sebring have gone on to win at Le Mans. Christensen is going for his 3rd straight Sebring victory. He did it 2 years ago with the BMW prototype, last year with Audi. Only Olivier Gendebien is a 3-time consecutive winner at Sebring, and no man has won the race 4 times at all. So just closing up. I wonder if perhaps that double stint is getting to Michele Alboreto a little bit.
Well, the gap was about 2.8 the last time by the line. Now less than half a second between those 2 cars. So Christensen certainly a man on the move. Watch the traffic here. That's where the real opportunities will come.
There's not room for 3 wide down there.
Are you sure about that, Bob?
Well, there's not room for me as one of the 3.
It's getting interesting, isn't it? You know, Hans Schuck is the only driver in this race who has actually won this race 3 times. So if Christensen can handle that today...
There you go.
Close enough to take the blue flag right out of that corner worker's hand.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there it was. Alboreto getting hung up a little bit behind the BMW in traffic. And Christensen getting a nice run at him. Going out into a very, very dirty part of the racetrack to make that pass, but making it nonetheless.
Now he draws away a little bit. Obviously the quicker car of the 2. Take another look at that pass. Coming under the bridge on the infield. Walked slightly by this BMW GT car. Christensen jumps on the opportunity immediately.
I like the flagger backing away.
Oh, my. Oh, the corner workers from the Florida region of the Sports Car Club of America. Those corner workers much in the news recently after the tragedy at the Australian round of the Formula One World Championship. These are very, very dedicated and passionate people who are volunteers, pay their own way to come here and do this. We'll take a break, and you'll have a new set of announcers when we return for more flag-to-flag coverage of the 12 Hours at Sebring. We will be back later in the evening. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Sebring, everybody, as we are well and settled into this 12-hour grind, which, as you saw, has certainly taken the toll, as it has every year in its 48 previous runnings, on the competitors and on the equipment. I'm Greg Kramer, joined now, of course, with Derek Bell and Derek Daly as well. And Derek Daly, you've won this twice before, 90 and 91, on St. Paddy's Day, dressed the part, you're ready to go. But you know what this middle grind of this race is like.
And you know, grind, Greg, is a good word to use, because I've been fortunate enough to go through the grind with some of the best teams in the business when we won this here twice in a row. But make no mistake about it, although you have to grind through the middle hours, you have to go fast at all times if you're ultimately going to control your destiny and try and win it. But also remember, you need a little bit of a dose of the look of the Irish. So I always had my shamrocks with me. 3-leaf shamrock instead of a 4-leaf clover. And the man who never had much of a look at the Irish is my colleague Derek Bell. Derek, you won everything in sports car racing, but never managed to win here. Do you want the glasses?
If I had to look like you, I'm glad I didn't win it, man.
But luck plays a big role, Derek, doesn't it, here to try and win this?
Of all the races in the world, this one takes it all, because it's so physical for the drivers, so physical for the cars, so physical for the whole teams and the heat as well. We never get this anywhere like this.
You want to try them?
No, I don't. Oh, all right. John Watson, eat your heart out.
That last stop to remove the plastic wrapped around the radiator and brake ducts on the number 4 Corvette of Kelly Collins has allowed Terry Porchler in that beautiful Celine to close right up. And this is, in fact, a battle for position. And, you know, not that long ago, you wouldn't have thought so. We saw the bodywork falling off the back of the Celine, and they were well off the pace. But things have conspired and transpired, and they're there.
And so often now in endurance racing, where in years past you just had a race for the first couple of hours, cruise, and then race the last few, you have to go fairly hard all the time. And here we are, 6 hours into the 12 hours of Sebring, and the GTS boys are within a second of each other.
And, boy, I'll tell you what, this may be just what Borschuler needed.
Now they're within 10 feet of each other. We're on board the Corvette right now. That's our onboard camera from the back, looking back at that Celine.
Yeah, you just saw Kellner's dive bomb underneath the vet, and that I thought was going to allow Borschuler maybe a little bit more of a run. Didn't quite happen. But if they're saying, look at this, here he goes. He looks anyway. Not quite enough. And they've been saying that this Celine in a straight line in particular is an absolute rocket. And it showed right there, and it looks to be pretty decent under braking as well.
Yeah, well, it's running a tremendous amount of downforce, far more downforce than the Corvettes, and they're going to have to run a lot less when they go to Le Mans. And this is something they've got to work on. But remember, as you said, it's very early days for this car.
That is the program the Celine boys are really concentrating on. Le Mans is such a big event. It is such a prestige event. They want to go there with as much test mileage, and really mileage that you get, or knowledge you get in racing, is so much more valuable than testing away by yourselves, because this is the true conditions you will face when you go across the waters to Le Mans. That's where Celine wants to run best of all.
That's a very good point, Derek Bell, about we watched him close up so dramatically under braking. More downforce means you can get on the brakes later. It makes braking far more effective. Now watch this run here.
Yeah, here's your long straight now. 170 miles an hour plus in these GT cars. I don't know, Derek. He doesn't have the legs up and down that straight, does he?
But I was talking to Oliver Gavin earlier. He said the car has so much speed as well, all round. I mean, was it 7 litres or something?
Yeah.
I mean, it's massive. I mean, it's totally outclassing the Corvettes. It's sad to say all the work they put into it, and they built this massive car with, the latest technology. I'm still unhappy about the fact there don't seem to be many models of them made, where there seem a lot of Corvettes on the streets these days. But that's
okay, here's the effort. Here it is.
Looks down the inside. Borschuler does. They are door to door. Couldn't quite get it done. And now here comes your overall race leader in the mix. Goes by Borschuler, rips by Collins as well.
Yikes.
That was a dodgy move. I think that was a pretty brave move. I don't know if he knew they were still dicing for the lead. That's what the guy in the Audi wouldn't have known that. He just thought it was just generally together.
And that's the risk you take here in these long-distance races. Do you trust the man you're passing and the man that's trying to pass you? And here's the hairpin.
Look how close he is this time. And we got so close. Here he goes. He's alongside. Got him.
Force is the issue in the brake zone. Once you get alongside, the Corvette has to give up the fight. No point in continuing the fight. Let him go and then race him somewhere else on the racetrack.
There's the number 1 of Alboreto. Now, he did not go out long ago, and you know why he's coming in? Mirror. There it is. There's the mirror. There's the replacement. It has come to roost, folks. And, well, I'll tell you, for something as minuscule you would think as a mirror, it's the old $2 bearing for Corneli Jones at Indy.
In a way, to me, that's rather naive, because these guys should have done this before. They've now been called up, and he's going to penalize them.
I hope they have plenty of rear view mirrors, because if they call him in, they're going to call Johansson in, they're going to call the champion car in, they're going to call everybody in.
Let's go down to Alan.
Yeah, no, it's, I tell you what it was a rear wheel nut was not done up tightly. That's what it was. They have actually put on another rear view mirror on the right-hand side anyway, but what he did is put the air hammer onto the rear right-hand wheel, and he banged up the wheel nut just a little bit more. So obviously Alboreto felt a bit of a wobble at the back there, and sensible fellow, in he came to have it adjusted. That's what they've done.
And he couldn't see it wobbling in his mirrors, but he does now.
Well, you know what? Earlier in the weekend, one of the drivers, I think it was Christensen, was out, came in, and they felt something very loose on one of the corners of the cars, went after it with wrenches, couldn't get it done, back behind the wall it went.
So how good do you think that super glue is? Because he literally stuck it on there for a couple of seconds and walked away. It didn't stick earlier. Is it going to stick now?
It almost like there were 2 black strips on the back of that mirror. I wonder if it wasn't Velcro, if it's a Velcro attachment as opposed to glue.
Now look what we have. Guy Smith in Johansson's car, the Gulf car, is now in second place on the same lap as the factory Audi. What a great job here with Johansson's car.
We actually have the top 3 right now on the same lap. The number 1 entry of Alboreto, Smith in the 18 Gulf, and Vila in the number 2 machine, all on the
guy that's running this golf team is a guy called Mike Earl. He comes from my home village in Sussex, England, and we started together in 1966 when I started in Formula 3, and he's worked with me through Formula 2. He then went on, of course, ran his own Formula 1 team, the Onyx Formula 1 team.
Yeah, Mike Earl ran the Onyx Formula 1 team when Stefan Johansson was the driver of that team.
Absolutely, and he got his best position for the Onyx. Was it fourth in the...
Yeah.
I can't remember where it was.
Yeah, so there's a lot of history and friendship between Mike Earl running this Gulf liveried car for Guy Smith, and they are doing a great job here. 3 cars all on the same lap, and we're way over halfway through this 12 hours of Sebring.
Well, a wonderful series of reunions obviously coming together here with the number 18 Gulf Audi. We'll be right back. Now we saw the lights still flashing.
You know, we don't know what's going to unfold here, but possibly the best thing that could happen for American Le Mans Series racing is for Johansson, the privateer, to win this thing, Derek.
Just to prove to everybody that you can do it. You can beat the factory teams, albeit maybe by a small error of a fraction as it is. It's a long way to go. Such a long way to go. We sat there in the lead with an hour to go, and we still haven't won it before, so don't count your eggs too soon.
Alan DeCatney, a huge development here.
Well, that's absolutely right. If I had a good look at it, he came down the pit lane. They reckon he violated on the way into his first pit stop. However, on that last time he came in, he stalled it. They weren't going to keep him waiting. He stalled it, so he started it again, spluttered off. And by the way, the rearview mirror went on with 2 pieces of double-sided sticky back tape, that mega stuff. So it's still on there. I don't think it'll come off.
That's very interesting that it was, if Alan was right, maybe, I mean, sometimes you just forget to hit the limiter button. I mean, you know, in the heat of battle, especially after, you know, coming in with problems.
Well, now Johansson's crew, led by Mike Earl, better get some of that double sticky back mega tape and some mirrors for his car, because I'm pretty sure they're going to, they probably have also been told that professional sports are concerned that these cars are running around without rear view mirrors.
What's interesting, isn't it, that they waited that long to put the mirror on if it was that easy a fix. It's interesting. Here we go. Guy Smith, the new leader, down to the pits. Now, at the time of that stop, Vila was only 29 seconds behind Smith. So we would certainly expect to see a new leader as a result of this stop here. Well, let's head back down to the pit lane.
Yeah, and he's staying in the car. Of course, that's his first stint. And the fuel's going in. They've got a lot of kit out here. They've got their rotors out and they've got their pads out. Are they going to use them? Well, we won't know until the wheels come off. Those can't come off, of course, until they finish fueling. They will all stand by. I think they're going to go. Yes, they are. They're going to go for rotor change and obviously pad change at the same time. Now, let's see how efficiently they manage to do it. Don't forget, this team hasn't had much practice with this because they've only just got their hands on the car, but it's a bit of a struggle. This front left one doesn't want to come off, look.
And right here, once again, this is our battle for the lead, folks. There goes Alboreto in the number 1 car. There comes Frank Vila. And Vila, very, very fast. He has been able to check that. They have Christensen on board. I looked at the helmet, and the scoring monitor says Vila, but it's Christensen's helmet, I believe. And we all know Tom Christensen, I think, is one of the absolute fastest drivers in the world right now. Let's go back down to Alan DeCatney.
Yeah, they've had a problem here on the front right. What happened is, as they pulled the old disc off, or rotor, I should say, one of the pistons on the 6-point caliper stuck out so far, and they couldn't get it back in. Luckily, they've got that special tool that we were talking about earlier, pushed it in, managed to squeeze the piston back, but I think they've got another problem now. They're having to take the snout off. That's come off. I can't quite see what this is all about. There's some other problem here that's arisen. I don't know what it is. Now they've got another problem down here. I think they may be changing the battery or something like that, because the car definitely does not want to start. I'm going to have a look inside there and see what it is.
All right, Alan, we just want to mention that while you're doing that, the number 26 Celine has gone into the GTS lead while the number 4 Corvette sits up with the air jacks working on brakes. And at the same time, the Celine went by to pick up the lead. We had that incredible battle right here for the lead in the overall position here with, again, Christensen putting in a lot of pressure pressure on Alboreto. Here's Borchardt out front now in that Celine S7R. What an absolutely great drive and a great day they have put in here in a long stop for that guy.
Wow, what a battle this is. Up front, the leaders are covered by a blanket. This GTS deal has changed back and forth for every hour here, and the GT battle is close. I mean, this is as good as it gets here.
It's incredible. We just got confirmation it is a battery problem on the number 18 Johansson Racing Golf Audi R8. So what a shame. And look at this, side by side. Christensen went for it, and Alboreto defending. I don't know whether he really intended to that abruptly, but they were working some traffic. But again, very close action, a very close call as they went by the Banana Joe's Lola Judd.
Now, Tom Christensen, remember, is trying to be the only driver in the history of this event to win it 3 times in a row in his only 3 starts. No one ever did that. Christensen is the only guy who has that opportunity here. So that is a carrot for him too. But boy, these boys are going at it, hey?
They really are.
They really are.
I'd be pretty pleased that Alboreto would be pretty happy he had his mirrors on the car at that point, don't you? Yeah. It's going to be a major incident there. He wouldn't be as confident. Here we go. They're almost side by side coming up the straight. Ducks in behind again.
And a good story here as the number 4 vet exits and back onto the track. The last lap by Alboreto and by Christensen, a 1/10 of a second difference. So Alboreto has responded, but he got by him. Christensen has picked up the lead, got around Alboreto, going in to that absolutely daunting and amazing turn 1 here. So wide in, so narrow out, you got to get it right.
And in fairness, Tom Christensen is a man on his way up. Alboreto really has reached the peak of his career, is on the way down, and just enjoys this ride. But Christensen, you remember, spent last year testing for the Williams Formula 1, well, for the Michelin tire company with the Williams F1 car. Has a lot of experience, but still a career very much on its way up.
Here's the pass for the lead. He ducked back in behind at this point. There's the vet coming out, but here he made the move.
That was the fake. That was the fake, as if he was going to follow him through. And this entry to turn 1 is so wide, you can duck down the inside. And once you take the road away from somebody else, they really just have to give up.
You know what? I'll also tell you one thing. As he came up into there, his mirrors would have been blurred by the setting sun behind him. He wouldn't have had much idea where the other car was.
Good point. Very
low sun behind him.
The sun here is going to be a serious factor here. So it's getting awfully low in the sky. And there it is. And that's what you're facing, going all the way down into sunset. You have in your mirrors and other corners, nightfall is upon us. Welcome back to Sebring, folks. We are past the 8-hour mark, past 2/3 of the way through this wonderful event. Here is our Exxon Superflo race reset. The leader right there, that Audi, number 2, Tom Christensen behind the wheel, led 41 of the 250 laps. Now, of course, if he hangs on and wins this one, he will win 3 Sebrings in a row. That is an amazing accomplishment. That 0 cautions, a huge story, I think, as well. 38 cars started, 15 cars are out at this point, but Tom Christensen, and he is, when he's free of traffic, he's doing some amazing stuff out there, Derek. You talked about the fact he turned a 149.6 lap not that long ago. Pole was a low 149, so he's within a half lap of pole.
Yeah, he is absolutely flying, is Tom Christensen.
You know, when it comes to safety and technology, the American Le Mans Series cars are among the most technologically sophisticated and safest cars in the world. So we have teamed with Michelin to bring you the Michelin Safety and Technology feature, a new segment we'll present on each broadcast this season. Inside about tires and more, here's Dave Burns.
And this week we're coming to you from Audi Sport Team Yost, where, believe it or not, they've taken the R8 and they've made it even better. Emanuele, show us some of the things they've done to the cockpit to make it better for you to drive.
Yeah, well, last year, it was the first time they built this car, and some of the switches were not in the most optimum position. This year we tried to optimize everything to make sure that we never have to take off an end during driving. Of course, we've got the gear shifting here, which is really, really nice, upshift and downshift very, very quickly. And then a very important switch is the reserve switch. Of course, we don't have any fuel gauge, and the only warning to tell you when you have to stop for refueling is a reserve light, which tells you you've got 10 more kilometers to go. And then you have to go on reserve very quickly to avoid a cut-off. And so this is the #1 switch to stretch the fuel window as much as possible and not to have the cut-off. And this is a safe switch that you cannot touch it by mistake, because if it's on reserve already, the warning will be no fuel, and then you're gonna stop on the circuit. And this is really quick when you drive. Wherever you are, you have a light on the dashboard, and off you go on reserve. And a little gadget as well, because Audi really want to make our life very comfortable and very easy. We got an electric adjustable rear mirror here, like a road car, like a limousine. Left mirror, right mirror. And this is very important at night, because at night, of course, the lights of the rear of the cars which follow you are annoying you a little bit. So you can adjust them, they hit you just about, and your driving is a bit more comfortable.
Welcome back to Sebring, everybody. The 49th annual Exxon Superflo 12 Hours of Sebring. You're watching your leader, Tom Christensen. Is he on the way to that record-tying 3 in a row? Well, it's going to be an interesting few hours to wrap it up. But, of course, there was another driver, not 3 in a row, but he did put up 2 in a row. And the first of those came in 1990. Again, Sam Posey took some time to look back at the 1990 running of the 12 Hours.
1990, 49 cars took the green in one of Sebring's most competitive races ever. The number 86 car, Bob Wallach, led early, followed by pole sitter Derek Daly in the number 84 Nissan. Wallach's car would break. The Frenchman then got in the number 0 Yost Porsche, taking it into the lead by late afternoon. 2 hours from the finish, the Porsche-Nissan battle ended when Wallach's teammate Henri Pescarolo crashed while trying to lap a slower car. Next to challenge Derek for the lead, the number 61 Jaguar of Davy Jones, Jan Lammers, and Andy Wallace. With half an hour left, Jeff Brabham got into the other Nissan, passed the Jag, and finished second. It was a Nissan 1-2 with Irishman Derek Daly getting his first win in the U.S. on St. Patrick's Day.
That way to have your first race here?
I didn't know you were so good.
That was by far the best way to celebrate St. Patrick's Day in 1990. Actually, I was fortunate. Nissan was the Audi team of the 90s. I mean, we had everybody covered. So it was great to be part of that team. And actually, I finished first and second in that race because I drove the other car also during the event. So that was one of the unusual events where you're credited with first and second. And then, of course, won the year after. So I have very good memories of St. Patrick's Day here at Sebring.
I'm sure you do. Over and out for you, then.
I do, indeed.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much. That's going to wrap it up for us here. We're going to be turning it back over to Bob Varsha, Jeremy Dale to take you home here and finish this 49th annual Exxon Superflo. It's been a treat. Derek Bell stepped in, and you were supposed to be gone about an hour or so ago. And thanks so much for staying even a little bit longer. It's been wonderful. Derek Daly, it's time to go celebrate even more for St. Patty's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day to every Irishman and Irish descendant out there. There's plenty of them. 40 billion.
Good for you, Derek.
And some of us enjoy it, too.
Yeah, we enjoy it.
Yes, you do.
All right, folks. That's going to wrap it up. When we come back, as I said, it's going to be Bob Varsha, Jeremy Dale here in the booth. There are your 3 leaders. Thanks so much. See you later.
The day has come and gone in Sebring, Florida, and still the 49th running of the Superflo 12 Hours at Sebring continues. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Bob Varsha, back on the microphone with Jeremy Dale. Andrew Marriott is in the pit lane with Calvin Fish. And we have just under 3 hours to go. Keep in mind, the bulk of the American Le Mans Series schedule is made up of 2-hour, 45-minute sprint races for these cars. They have more than that remaining here at Sebring after 9 hours of driving hard over this tortuous race course. And we have more drama. Quickly to the pit lane and Calvin Fish.
Well, the leader is in, Bob, the number 2 machine driven by Pirro. I think that misfire that they had earlier in the race has reoccurred, but this time they've gone to the right side. Essentially what they do is change all 4 spark plug wires on the right side of the engine. They went to the left side earlier in the race, changed the ECU box as well. They did the same thing internally in the cockpit, and this time it's a little bit more troublesome. He's struggling there to get everything tightened back up on the right-hand side, and it seems as though one of them is not connecting. They had a close look at it, got the flashlight in there. He's fighting with it pretty hard, and they're waiting with the tail cover to go back on. And when they did this before, it immediately rectified the problem. The engine was running clean from there on out, but this one is definitely taking longer, and that number 1 machine is out there and probably going to be taking the lead if they spend much more time here in pit lane.
Well, Calvin, the The number 1 car now is flashing across the start-finish line, and it's now on the same lap as the number 2 car. So the number 1 car has unlapped itself, but has not yet taken the lead.
He stalled it.
Laurent Aiello at the controls of the number 1 machine. Oh, excuse me, Ronaldo Capello. I'm just bound and determined to get Aiello into that car, by God. He'll be there sooner or later. As you see Pirro now making his way back out. He must be feeling just a bit jinxed at the car each time that misfire cropped up.
Well, at least they have an instant cure for it. You see, that's again, Yost at his best. He's already pre-thought of what they would do, and they have an instant cure.
Well, they did. There's some smoke there. I don't know what that's from. They did run into this problem a number of hours ago when Bob and I were on the air earlier in the day, and they fixed it very, very quickly. And we think they had a little bit of help from the telemetry back in the pit lane.
Now here's another look at what Calvin was talking about, how they changed all 4 of the sparklers at the same time.
Yeah, those are, I believe, those are coil packs. Those are actually coils that go down. So the spark plugs remain in the motor. Those little coil packs go down, pop onto the top of the spark plugs, and then they make the electrical connection, which is fed from the ECU to send spark into the motor.
They struggled just that little bit with one of them.
So if one of those coils gives up, that will create a misfire. Of course, there's about 1,000 things on this car that could create a misfire.
I was wondering maybe if he stripped one of the connections. You see him working really hard with that tool to get the thing fastened on. I wonder if maybe he cross-threaded something.
They're pretty cool there, aren't they? I mean, that's the wonderful thing about watching trained guys at work like this.
And this guy is no spring chicken, obviously. He has done this countless times before. That's where you want the steady hand and the cool head. Flashing around in the darkness. Number 1 car, Ronaldo Capello. Long way to go here at Sebring, and this race is far from over. Can Audi repeat their 1-2 of a year ago? It remains to be seen. Stay with us. Joined now by Alvin Springer, president of Porsche Motorsport North America. And once again, the 911s are in the hunt for the class win, Alvin. It would be Porsche's 44th, and that's a tremendous record of achievement. How are things looking from your view?
So far, actually very well, but you know, like we still have almost 2 hours to go, and it's a little bit early to call a shot, but we have a good, we have almost a lap lead, and we just done our fuel stop, so it actually reduced a little bit, but BMW has to do the same. So I would say if we don't have a problem, it should be hopefully a good finish for us.
What's your view of this new V8 car and the challenge it poses to you?
It's, let's say from BMW as a compliment that they've done all their homework, that they produced a car that is very, very powerful. We can talk about the spirit of the rules, you know, like that's a different story, but from a standpoint technical and performance-wise, an excellent choice so far.
Saw the Intersport Lola Judd pitting from place.
And so many of the race fans that have been watching Porsche over the years want to know when Porsche will be fighting for overall wins again. I mean, I think that's very important to these race fans because there's so much history there.
Yes. Yes, you're right. It has definitely been on our mind, but you know, like circumstances in Germany, like the introduction of the new SUV, the building of our new factory, this has to take right now priority. Once it is in place and things are running smooth, then I believe that we'll return with an LMP car. Because that's what we have to do as a factory, we have to run in front.
What will be the future?
Or compete in front, excuse me.
What will be the future of this new Carrera GT, the V10 powered car?
I don't know. Let's first decide if we're going to build it or we don't build it, and then once we build it, then we have to decide if we build a race car or not. So that's a long time down the road.
Well, I'm glad to see Porsche is looking down the road. I know you were a great friend of Bob Wallach, and this has been a very difficult weekend for you, Alvin. Appreciate you being with us.
Thank you very much, Bob.
That's Alvin Springer, president of Porsche Motorsport North America. We'll take a break and return. Frank Freon is now in the number 4 Corvette. Earlier, his wife emailed us telling him to go, Frank. We'll be right back. We are at Sebring as the race-leading Audi continues on its way in the Exxon Superflo 12 Hours at Sebring. I'm Bob Varsha along with Jeremy Dale and Alan DeCadney in the announce booth. Andrew Marriott and Calvin Fish are on pit lane with about 90 minutes to go in the 49th running of this great event. Right now, it's the Audis out front. Now, Sebring is as flat as a pancake, but contours in racetracks that appear on our Endurance Grand Slam have been modified recently in the name of safety. Here's a closer look at Le Mans and Road Atlanta, what they're doing. The most important trend in racing of late has been aerodynamics, cars creating enough downforce to pin the vehicle to the ceiling at speed. It's what happens when that downforce goes away that keeps designers, engineers, and drivers awake at night, as it did for Yannick Dalmas in the Petit Le Mans at Road Atlanta in 1998, as it did in the same spot, in the same race, at the same track for Bill Auberlen last year. Amazingly, none of the drivers was hurt in those incidents. In an effort to ensure that the track doesn't help contribute to launching the race cars, officials at both circuits have called in the bulldozers. The famous bumps in the 3-mile Mulsanne Straight at Le Mans were smoothed over the winter, removing thousands of cubic yards of earth from the famous straightaway and repaving. Ironically, the modifications may create an even faster stretch of track when the world's fastest cars turn up in June, cars that can reach 240 miles per hour in a straight line. For Mark Webber, the story of Le Mans 1999 was even more miraculous when you consider that he flipped not once in his Mercedes, but twice. First in practice, then in the warm-up. Nevertheless, the team went on with the race. In it, his teammate Peter Dumbreck suffered the crash seen round the world. He too was unhurt, but Mercedes has not been back to Le Mans since. Officials at Road Atlanta have also lowered the brow over which both Dalmas and Auberlen slipped the surly bonds of earth. Ultimately, whether these modifications will keep the cars earthbound or not remains to be seen. Now, it's not all about geography. It's also about the shape of race cars. This was the earlier Mercedes iterations. Then the CLK morphed into this shape in 1999. More recently, Bentley has come out with this profile for its return to Le Mans this summer. Emmanuel Epiro talking with his Audi team crewman. Let's get down to Calvin Fish.
Emmanuel, it looks like it's going to be a real shootout. If you were a gambling man, would you put your money on Tom or Ronaldo?
I'm not a gambling man, so I can't answer, but it's really going to be very, very close because the others haven't changed tires, so I don't know what they're going to do. If they change tires, they're going to pay around 20 seconds. If they don't change tires, God knows, how much it slowed down. So if I were them, I wouldn't know what to do. But we're now 35.3 seconds behind. Tom is really, really strong today. He must have had a hell of a night last night because he's really, really strong. So we're really counting on him.
Now the Celine is back in.
This car was not in that long ago, guys.
I'm wondering now.
That did not seem like a full stint to me.
The crew doesn't seem to have a good idea. Now, Franz Conrad runs around to the driver's side door. The crew seemed a little tentative about what they were supposed to do. They brought out the fuel hose. Now, the Corvette is in.
The gap to the second-place Corvette around 22 seconds, almost 23 seconds right now. That noise you hear is the car on its speed limiter. That's why it sounds so bad coming down the pit lane.
It comes right below our announce position. Andrew Marriott is there.
Now Frank Freon is just about to climb out of the car, and Andy Pilgrim will get in the car. We understand down the further end of the pit, the Celine has got a problem, and I think the number 4 is just retaking the lead of the GTS. Yeah, just seen the Celine go past, and Celine is still in the lead, but it's very, very close. I'm going to try and get Frank Freon in just a moment.
I think the lead just changed twice in the pit lane. Yeah. Once as the Corvette came in and took it, then parked. Once again as the Celine went out and took it back.
If they fueled that Celine, that may well do away with its splash and dash that was needed. In other words, they may have had the splash and dash now instead of later.
Calvin Fish.
But Capello stays in as we suspected, and the crew now goes to work. This is critical. They need every ounce of fuel. They've got about 45 minutes or so to go in this one, and they're going to need every last drop of fuel there to make the distance. And then they will change tires. They can't afford any cross-threaded nuts. They need to make this a clean stop, get Ronaldo back on track. Now he's going to lose the lead to Christensen while he sits here in pit lane, but then Christensen should be pitting in about 3 laps approximately. So here we go. Crew goes to work. They take the wheel nuts off the rear first, then another team member puts those on. They go to the front tires next. They'll complete the task on the front wheels, tighten those nuts up, and then go to the back of the car, tighten up the rears, and it looks good so far. I don't see any problems. They're clear on the left side. Right side is done. Drop the car down. Hopefully he doesn't stall it. He needs a clean getaway. Lots of revs. That seems if you baby this thing out, it'll hurt you. Lots of revs. He's on the rev limiter. He's out of here. Good stop.
Spin in the rears as he leaves the pit lane.
Now, cold tires at Sebring at night, when you're in a hurry, is not the ideal situation. So you do need to be careful on this outlap, but there's a lot of time also to be made here. But certainly, it's very, very easy to make a mistake.
Michelin will have a special compound for these conditions, running at night when the temps are cooler. None of those Formula One style tire warmers in the pit lane. These tires are cold. Great battle still coming. Stay with us. Back live at Sebring, flashing towards you at better than 165 miles an hour is Tom Christensen with the bit now fully between his teeth. Look at the race average speed thus far tonight, 113.31 miles an hour, the all-time fastest average speed, 115.82, but that was with a different track configuration. The current 3.7 mile 17 turn configuration has been in place since 1998, and the record average speed for that configuration is about 110 miles an hour.
Yeah, that track configuration in '86 was a much faster track, faster track configuration.
Frank Freon is out of the Corvette. Andrew Marriott is there.
Frank Freon is out of the Corvette with a very bloodshot left eye. Frank, that was a very good stint, and you're really close to that Celine now. You might yet beat it.
Yeah, we are fighting at the very maximum. We're giving our very best. And the GM Corvette racing team, I mean, the guys did a great job. The car, crossed my fingers, stayed together up to now. I mean, we had the chance to fight. It's a very great race. And it's so tight after 11 hours, just amazing. But we're giving our very best.
And no yellows at all. No yellows in this race.
No, you're right. But that's you know, sometimes you gain, sometimes you lose with the yellow. But that's fine. It's the same for everybody.
Frank, we saw you many times racing Masters at Le Mans, but you're going to enjoy racing a Corvette there now.
I had the chance to go last year for the first time with the GM Corvette racing team, and we finished third in class. It was great at Le Mans. And since we had the great chance to win Daytona this year, I mean, that's fantastic for the team. And we're looking forward to going back to Le Mans since I'm French, so it's kind of a little bit, you know, my track. And we did great last year, and we're going to try to get a class win this year. So we're gonna go for it.
Frank, thanks very much. Great drive.
Thanks.
Good luck to Frank and the rest of the Corvette team as they take the American muscle car to France. Back to Tom Christensen now. He's absolutely flying. His last lap, a 150.8. Meanwhile, Ronaldo Capello, shown a lap down, is just turned to 150.9.
I got an email here from Tony Rooks. Why is there a lack of Japanese manufacturers in the prototype series? Well, the answer is they've all been and gone and done it. And as we saw with Toyota, their efforts at Le Mans were incredibly expensive and they didn't do very well. But we've had Mazda, we've had Nissan. The Japanese have certainly been a big deal in endurance racing. And I'll guarantee one thing for sure. Whilst they may not be here today, they'll be back tomorrow, no doubt about it.
Well, and of course, Nissan and Toyota both had their moments in the sun here in North America. In the IMSA Championship, Nissan in the early to mid 90s, and of course, in the early 90s, and Toyota a little bit after that, and they were both extremely successful. But of course, that's the argument that people make against manufacturers being involved in sports car racing, is that they're there until it suits them to not be there, and then they're gone.
Well, Toyota, of course, have gone to Formula One. I mean, we've been talking about Alan McNish quite a lot during the course of this. Where's he gone? He's Toyota's Formula One test driver, very much indeed, I hope, hoping with Mikko Salo to be their works drivers.
Of course, one name we haven't seen among the Japanese men. Well, we got a pit stop here.
And Christensen really, I'll tell you, you would not roll much more speed through turn 17 and make it to the pit lane. So that gives you an idea of the commitment that Tom Christensen has right now.
Through a wicked Ralph right there at the head of the pit lane. Calvin Fish will be awaiting him. Now we'll see the team go to work. Look for a timed fuel load here.
Okay, Tom is in, and it should be fuel only. I think they're going to need most of this. They're not going to gamble too much. Got a little over 40 minutes. They typically go close to 50, so they're going to need most of the fuel load. They've okayed the tires, so the real key now for Christensen is to get this Audi out of the pits clean, and that's really been about a 50-50 shot for these drivers. A lot of the time they can't keep the engine running, but I've got a feeling the revs are going to be hung really high when he gets released. Fuel is done. He's about to go. Oh, and he stalls it, guys. As we discussed, he stalls it momentarily, precious seconds, and he's heading back out. We're going to be looking, he stalls it again, but he's back underway, and we're looking for Capello. He's coming down the front straightaway, so if he gets a good clean run through one, these guys should be almost nose to tail.
With one car in between them, there is Ronaldo Dindo Capello. Skid block, flashing sparks in the night.
I timed that, took just under 30 seconds to dump that fuel in. That's a full fuel load.
Yep, it is.
Plus the stalling. You know, I mean, at this stage of the game, every second counts.
Well, I'll tell you guys, I watched and I actually looked at the lap time when Capello made his in lap, because when they come through 17 and into the pit lane, they will then come over the line, and you see a lap time there. It's slower, but you see the lap time, and actually Christensen's was about 3 to 4 seconds quicker than that of Capello, so he made up quite a bit of time just on that in lap, and especially that run through turn 17.
Well, his blood is up, I think. I mean, three Sebrings in a row is the name of the game here, isn't it?
Well, you saw how nervous he was earlier when he was questioned about it, too, by Calvin Fish. I don't want to talk about it, do not want to even speculate about getting a third straight and joining that exclusive club of just 4 drivers with 3 Sebring victories. Mario Andretti, Olivier Jean-Dubien, Phil Hill, and Hans Stuck.
It's quite a privilege, actually. We're witnessing a man who is, what shall we say, mega focused. I mean, he really is going to go for this big time.
Perhaps a little anger in his driving, too.
Well, maybe we'll see the performance from him in this Audi that maybe he wished he was able to have given when he was driving Formula 1 cars.
Okay. Well, guys, we're hearing that Christensen may be getting a penalty for excessive pit lane speed on the pit entry. So he may have pushed just a little bit too hard. So we will wait and see. But that's very easy to do. Once you get the car slowed down, the speed limiter on the car will hold it at that speed. But the opportunity, there it is.
There it is.
So the opportunity to make a mistake really exists on the pit in and nowhere else. But he's done it.
That's a shame. He didn't get it slowed down by the time he hit the timing line.
Showing at 5.8 seconds in the lead on that last lap.
Now you're on board with Capello. Here's another look at what just happened.
So here it is. That is practically full speed through 17, but he pinches it down, and look at that. He's not gone to the brake pedal until just about the pit in, and that pit lane speed limit starts right where those 2 cones are.
Which is exactly what Alvaredo did as well, who got other things on his mind, like a wobbly rear wheel. The last thing he was thinking was break the damn thing down to the 50 miles an hour. Exactly. Christensen so anxious to get in the pits and get fueled up. He goofed by what, maybe just 10 yards, but it's a goof.
But all of these guys know that. They know that that pit lane speed limit begins at those 2 cones, and they must have the car down to the limit by the time they get there. And of course, there is someone standing there with a radar gun. It's policed very, very heavily.
That may well have cost him the likelihood of winning this race.
It may well. Closest margin of victory in Sebring history was set back in 1999. 9.2 seconds separated the BMW V12 LM of J.J. Leto, Tom Christensen, of all people, and Jörg Müller, from Butch Leitzinger, Elliott Forbes Robinson, and James Weaver, one of Rob Dyson's Riley and Scott Fords.
So here he comes again. So the key is don't make the same mistake again. And you can see how much slower the car is going there.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Oh, God, it's so boring for him.
Get ready for a launch now.
Well, get ready for... He's got about 35 minutes when he leaves the pit lane.
He's got to stop that car, though, and get it off the line without either cooking the clutch or stalling it.
He's got to stop the car. And you can see the officials quite mad.
Was that a stop? Was that a stop?
Well, he just barely... He did wave him out. He did wave him out.
Stop and go means stop and go.
Well, he stopped in spirit. That's like a rolling violation, I think.
Oh, yeah. Explain that when you blow the stop sign. You can't win an argument with an official. Old baseball rule that applies to motor racing. Could that mean victory for this man and his team? We'll find out shortly. Stay with us.
With the hits of Monster Booty. Log on to MusicSpace.com or pick up the phone and make that booty call now. Order by credit card now and get a free I Break for Monster Booty bumper sticker. You know you want it. Grab some Monster Booty now. To order, call the number on your screen or log on to MusicSpace.com. CD $18.98, cassette $15.98. Rush delivery available.
The Superflo 12 Hours at Sebring is brought to you by Porsche. Discover what only Porsche brings to driving. And Exxon Superflo Motor Oil. Superflo provides protection that's fast, protection that lasts.
And I must say, Bob, I think we have to give tremendous credit to Ronaldo Capello, who has done this final stint. The gap now back to Christensen, 22 seconds, and it has remained in that kind of 22 to 25 second range for the last 20 minutes or so. And he has just done an exceptional job in that car. Christensen was clearly, before he had his last stop, was clearly the man on the move and was on average about a second to a second and a half lap quicker getting through traffic. And he's not really been able to make much of an impression in this last 20 minutes.
Well, Sebring has become famed for its dramatic rises and falls. Tom Christensen, who appeared to have that historic third straight victory in the palm of his hand, really has no one to blame but himself, I guess, that it appears he might not get it. Less than 8 minutes to go now. The gap between the two Audi teammates fairly stable at around 23 seconds right now. As I mentioned earlier, twice before the last 2 years, the winner of this race has gone on to win the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Andrew Marriott has some thoughts about Le Mans from the pit lane.
Yes, I do, and I just watching this phenomenal performance by Audi today. I think they're going to take a lot of beating at Le Mans, but it won't be like Sebring because we're going to have two American manufacturers with their new prototypes there, so they could have a bigger battle on their hand, but those cars do run like clockwork, and I don't think we have the same kind of speed controls in the pit lane at Le Mans. I think it's a bit higher tech. I do think the Audi pit limiters are probably higher tech than the hair dryers have been pointing at them, so I'm a little disappointed with Tom Christensen, obviously. But Le Mans, nevertheless, it's going to be a superb race this year. We're going to have the intrigue of the Bentleys. We're going to have lots of quick 675 cars. And of course, I think we should have some very interesting performances with the Corvettes as well. So I'd say to anybody that's never been to Le Mans, try and book your ticket and get over there, because it is not only a race, it's a great event.
No question about that. I think we have a crowd here at Sebring. Wait till you get a load of Le Mans. You've not seen it before. My favorite race in all the world. Now, this is the second round of the American Le Mans Series, as well as being a great event in its own right. Calvin Fish, what's this going to do to the championship?
Well, I think it can have a dramatic effect, Bob, because if you think about it, Tom and Ronaldo are supposed to be teammates for the remainder of the year, with the exception possibly of the Petit Le Mans. So it's very hard for drivers to really separate themselves in the driver point standings. It's typically done by whoever scores the most fastest laps throughout the year. But with Ronaldo scoring a win here and Tom finishing second, it will definitely give him a leg up in the championship.
No question about that. 26 Celine. What an amazing story for this absolutely new car. The development curve still pretty steep for this machine, but it has driven like a train today. Hands of friends Conrad, Oliver Gavin, and factory driver Terry Borcheller. They are going to bring home a trophy in what has to be record time. This is just the, let's count them up, Laguna Seca last year, Daytona this year, Homestead this year. It's not a very long gestation period. And they won at Homestead. So hats off to Steve Celine and his crew for a remarkable performance. Out of the hairpin S's. That's not an oxymoron.
Well, they call that sometimes they call it the safety pin.
Very good. There's the number 23, the leader in the GT category. Sasha Maassen. One of the young lions that Porsche is bringing along to create the next generation of Porsche stars in the footsteps of the likes of Derek Bell, who was with us on our broadcast team, and Bob Wallach, whose memory will be with us all for a long time after the tragic road accident that claimed his life a little over 24 hours ago. The white flag is in the air. 1 lap to go for Ronaldo Capello, who last year drove in the shadow of his teammate Alan McNish, who went on to the 2000 Drivers' Championship in the LMP 900 category. But this could be Capello's season to shine. In the company of Michele Alboreto and Laurent Aiello, it appears that they will bring Audi its second straight victory here at Sebring. Once more through the infield. Lap number 369. We'll have 370 laps complete at the finish for 1,369 miles. That is the answer to the email from Lee Hunt in Fayetteville, Georgia.
And no full course cautions.
For the first time since 1994, not a single full course caution flag. 1,369 miles would take you where? Houston, Texas, New York City from here in Sebring. Astonishing. Late end to end. Unofficially, 21 of our 38 starters still circulating at the end of this 49th running of the 12 Hours at Sebring. The first event here at Sebring was New Year's Eve of 1950, the 6-hour Sam Collier Memorial, honoring the son of a prominent Florida family who, along with his brother Miles, was a huge supporter of sports car racing in the United States and wanted to see a Le Mans style event here at Sebring. They have got one.
Capello has slowed way down here, and I think he may be waiting for his teammate.
Time for the picture. The checkered flag waves. Capello is there, and he takes it with his teammate just behind him. Final margin of victory. A very finely judged, make it what, 0.5 of a second or so?
0.48 of a second. And I thought Christensen was going quite a bit quicker.
You don't suppose the thought kind of went through his mind. There's Michele Alboreto, and Calvin Fish is with him.
Michele, just 1 year ago, you saw victory slip away in the final couple of hours. This must be great.
Yeah, this time is a dream come true because I was 2 times second, 1 time third year in Sebring. And achieve this result for me is very important for my career. So after Le Mans, I also win this race. It's very, very important.
On to Le Mans. Must give you a great head roll going into Le Mans. You must feel really strong about the performance of the car once again.
Yeah, we worked so hard on this car, and we never give up. We keep going to development, so we want to don't have any surprise, so we keep going every day.
Congratulations, awesome.
Thank you so much, also for you. It was a great job for you too.
Or were you watching, Michele?
Hey, Calvin did a good job.
He did a good job. I'm just wondering how Michele saw it. You just witnessed the closest finish in Sebring history. At about a half second, there's Franz Conrad, who was very, very non-committal all day long about his chances. But now, a bright smile as the Saleen S7R collects his first win in the 12 hours. And in the GT category, Sasha Maassen will bring home the Porsche, and victory to Alex Job Racing, their second straight 1-2 in the American Le Mans Series season. The fireworks have started. The party is just beginning here at about 10:40 Eastern time. We'll go long into the night and even into the dawn. It's a big weekend here in Central Florida. We'll be right back to start meeting our winners. An amazing race dominated by the Audis, but Jeremy Dale, it never got boring. The fact that the Audis dominated the top 4 positions throughout the race really doesn't come close to telling the story of what unfolded.
No, it doesn't, because you had 4 Audis run by 3 separate teams who were all racing each other. And at one time or another, any of those 4 cars could have won this race. Look at these guys. They are just over the moon.
Laurent Aiello joining Michele Alboreto in congratulating Ronaldo Capello.
And these guys know how great a final stint Capello drove. He drove brilliantly in that final stint.
Keep in mind, these drivers come from all over the world to this sleepy town in Central Florida to this race. And you ask now how much it means to be a Sebring winner. Let's get down to Calvin Fish.
Well, it's just pandemonium, as you'd expect down here in Victory Lane. Michele Alboreto, Laurent Aiello. We're going to get in here with Dinder. We're going to give him a chance to get his helmet off. 10th straight win for Audi, but the first win here at Sebring for all 3 of these guys. Dindo, what a performance, mate. Unbelievable, Dindo. He's got a few hats to get on. The Michelin tires are once again awesome. Tell us about that last couple of hours.
Okay, when Tom pit and then left the pit in front of me, I thought it was when the race was lost. But then I thought that I could push, and then from my box they told me that Tom got a stop and go, and I thought probably it's a good day for us.
It looked like it's going to be a great battle, though, because you had tyres that only had 1 stint on. Tom had tyres that had 2 stints, so you could have had the advantage there at the end either way.
I lost when he put a new tyre, and I was in my second stint on old tyre, and then I gained at the end.
You get a day's rest. I understand they're going to put you to work again on Monday.
Yeah, on Monday we start again to test here.
Fabulous job today.
Well, that's absolutely right. I forgot. On Monday, they're going to take this car out and run it for another 12 hours at race pace. The idea, after all, is to be ready for Le Mans.
And I'll tell you, any car that could potentially get around Sebring for 24 hours is capable of just about anything.
Saw Frank Biela from the other car crew come over to congratulate his teammate. There's Laurent Aiello. Calvin Fish is there.
Laurent, the 3rd member of this team. What a great job by you and all the guys.
Yeah, but I think the best job was coming from Dindo Capello at the end. You know, in the last 2.5 hours, he was in the car. He was pushing very hard, and we were, you know, crossing their fingers for him. And it was so difficult to be, you know, not behind the steering wheel. It was so hard, but at the end, he's done it, and it's perfect.
What does it mean to be a Frenchman and go to Le Mans as the champion of Sebring? It must give you a great start going there in June.
You see, the first time I went to Le Mans, I won. And the first time I went to Sebring, I won also. So it's superb.
Awesome job today.
Sorry?
Awesome job today.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. We're going to take a quick break and be back. Much more to come as we continue now that the checkered flag has flown here at Sebring. Stay with us. The scrum continues down in Victory Lane. Let's get quickly to Andrew Marriott.
A scrum it is, but in the middle of the scrum, I'm very happy, Oliver Gavin. Oliver, what about that? Unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. First time out with France here with the Celine S7. It's amazing. You know, it's everybody's worked so hard over the last few months. Daryl Cousins, Marnie, all the boys back in the workshop, as well as all the team here. You know, it's been amazing. This whole week has just been fantastic. It's run so well. And I just have to thank Terry and Franz for driving so well as well.
Let's move over to Terry. This must be the biggest moment of your motorsporting career.
Yeah, it is. It really is. I'm just excited, and it was just a blast, and I just thank the Lord Jesus Christ. I mean, this is what we always hope for, and Daytona was a big disappointment. At about the 18th hour, we lost the motor, and I'm happy for this.
Franz, you've been in motor racing, 30 years, but this is one of your biggest moments ever.
Yes, it is, and I'm very happy. Had a good race. Everybody did a good job, and the car was fantastic, so we're really happy.
Franz, let's go to Calvin.
Well, Lucas Luhr has won Sebring for the second year in a row. Lucas, this must be a very tough weekend for you. Give me your feelings right now.
Well, right now, I have really no words, you know. Yesterday, we had one of the best day you can have in Porsche. We lost a really good team member and really friend, and today we won. And I don't know what to say about it. It's just, Sasha, myself, and Emmanuel, we said yesterday, now we have more reason to win and just give the victory to Bob.
Congratulations, and we really appreciate your thoughts, and our thoughts with Bob as well.
Thank you.
Part of the legacy of Bob Wallach with the Porsche factory team will be all of the hard work he did bringing along the young lions, Lucas Luhr and Sasha Maassen among them. With Sebring now complete, it's time to set your watches. Let's see, 2,171 hours to Le Mans. The clock is ticking to round 3 of our Speed Vision Endurance Racing Grand Slam. But we're not done here at Sebring. We'll be back. Welcome back as the celebrations continue down in Victory Lane here at Sebring. Let's take a look at our Audi final results. Of course, these are unofficial, pending tech inspection and so forth. But an amazing performance once again from Audi. Last year, a 1-2 with 2 factory cars. This year, a 1-2-3-4 with 2 factory and 2 privateer machines. Final margin of victory, 0.682 seconds, the closest ever for the overall win here at Sebring. In the GTS category, the margin 1 lap for the Celine over the Corvette. And in GT, Sasha Maassen beat teammate Randy Pobst by 1 minute 21.583 seconds. Well, Jeremy Dale, your final thoughts on this race?
Well, I think when Audi sat down a year or so ago and decided, you know, we'll make some cars available to customers and we'll continue to run our factory cars, this would have been the plan they came up with. Go to Sebring, finish 1-2 with the factory cars, customer cars 3rd and 4th, and they pulled it off. You know, the Johansson team, the champion team, they both did a tremendous job. Of course, the factory team, we expect that from them. The Yost team, and they will try to go to Le Mans and do exactly the same thing. They have really accomplished something here today.
It'll be hard for Audi to top the performance they put on at Le Mans last year with a 1-2-3 sweep. But don't put it past them. They'll be testing shortly here at Sebring and then heading on. It's been a great day here at Sebring, but it's always a great day at the racetrack. It began with the tragedy involving Bob Wallach. Today, it produced an outstanding race and the closest margin of victory in the storied history of Sebring. I'm Bob Varsha for Jeremy Dale, Alan DeCadenet, Greg Kramer, Derek Daly, Derek Bell, Andrew Marriott, Calvin Fish, Dave Burns, and Sam Posey, who made some important contributions to our show today. We thank you for watching. We hope you will join us for the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and then for the Petite Le Mans. Until then, so long from Sebring, Florida. The 49th 12 Hours at Sebring is now a part of racing history.